All right, so why do you need a humidifier? Well, in a lot of cases, you're going to be working with a dry climate, whether you're in places like Otago, it's winter, that humidity is far too low, or you're dealing with tropical plants and you need to bring the humidity up for them. You want to consider a machine like this. Now, this is the T7, so it's the largest in its class, and that means it's going to deliver a very high amount of humidity for those larger grow spaces. Now, just some quick specifications. When you fill this tank up, it has got 15 litres of water capacity. When you run it at full power, you're going to be sitting at around 10 to 11 hours of continuous humidity being emitted from this thing. When you run it at low power, you're sitting at around 30 hours of continuous operation. So that's the prime specifications of this, but what I want to do is just run through the components because it is quite important to understand why this machine is so good. Now, I just want to quickly start down here. I'll just move the sensor out of the way. We'll cover the controller in a minute, but it is on wheels. Now, that's actually a really nice addition for a machine of this size because when you load it up, you're looking at least 15 kilos of water alone. So it's nice to know it is quite portable. Now, I just want to pull this apart here. There's a full set of attachments, cover that in a second. And I'll just lift this top tank off to give you a rundown of what's going on inside. So this is where the business end happens down here. So we've got 3 ultrasonic sensors, ultrasonic emitters. Now what that's doing is that is how the humidity is produced. It actually looks pretty cool when it's up and running. We'll show you guys that. We've got a float valve here. So what that's gonna do is allow the water tank to fill this area, and we have a float switch. So that's a safety switch. If the water level gets too low, the machine's gonna turn off. Don't worry too much about this. This is just what's pumping a small amount of air in there, which is going to force the humidity out of the chamber. Now, I'll just flip this around here. On the back side, we have an air inlet filter, easily washable foam filter, in case that gets dirty. And back around to the front here. So I'll just whip this tank on, and what I'll do is I'll throw some water in it. We'll get this up and running and show you guys the controls. All right, so what we've done is we've just thrown a bit of water in here. Now, what's actually important is how to put the water in. Let me just show you guys up the top here. This is actually the outlet for the humidifier, and the fill cap area is this little flap just here. If I can lift that up. That is where you're going to add water. Please do not put it straight down the center. It is not advisable. All right, so how this is going to actually operate, everything's managed down here on the display. Now I'll run through that. So you've got an on and an off, at least for the display there. We've got the 4 power settings and how you cycle through that. We've got a set point, so you can, once you've plugged your humidity sensor in there, which is of course included, when you set this, you can basically have the humidifier automate itself to help maintain that target humidity level. So brilliant. We have a time clock function here. Now what that's actually doing is representing how many hours this is going to run for before it shuts itself off. Quite a nice feature for those who just want to have a blast of humidity for a couple of hours or longer and let it do its thing. So down here, we've of course got the input sensor for the humidity sensor. And we have a port here for a UIS controller. Now that's going to allow this humidifier to integrate completely with the AC Infinity controller. We'll show you guys what that looks like in a moment. But that encompasses the control system that's natively built into this thing. So as you can see, we've got this cranking here at level 4, and I haven't got any attachments in it to direct the humidity, but as you can see, it's pretty darn good. So let's actually cover what's included in the box. So just on the front here, we've of course got the humidity sensor. We've got a how to grow hemp booklet, because they love to include those. The full instruction manual for the CLOUDFORGE, probably good to read that, we do recommend that. Some safety guidelines for actually setting it up. Some other AC Infinity literature around using the control system, which of course would integrate with the CLOUDFORGE. We have an extension cable. Now that cable there is what's going to connect the humidifier to your control system. We have a little scrubby brush to clean out the sensors periodically, and some cable management and sensor management, zip ties and things like that, which is nice to have. But what's most important is the attachments for this machine here. So of course we've still got it running full power, and I'll just give you some options of what that looks like. So for a lot of people, what you can do is simply take this little adapter here, plonk that on top, and heck, you could just drop that straight in there for the 5-way distributor. So quite nice if you're putting this right in the center of a grow space and you need to distribute it as much as you can. There is an extension piece for that. Get it even higher, like so. Brilliant. And of course we have, I like to reference this as the external pipe. So for a lot of people, what you'd do, let me just pop this one out. I believe it goes this way. Now what this means is you can place the humidifier external of your grow space and pipe it in like so. And it does also have a little nozzle here for direction as well. So quite nice for people who are limited on space and they need to plonk it outside of the grow space. plummet in through this pipe. Now, sorry, one thing that they do mention, they even have a little notification here about how you route this hose. You cannot have a low bend like that because you'll start to get water pooling and then the humidifier will quickly become ineffective. You have to always have it slightly arched, so quite good to know. But that's the fundamentals of this humidifier. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you some quick shots of how this actually looks like, set up running in a grow space and or hooked up with the control system. So there will be a lot of you out there who already have an existing AC Infinity controller. That's brilliant because your CloudForge is natively going to plug straight into the back of that controller, working off the climate sensor that we already have in the grow space and allowing you to completely automate the room with your CloudForge external. That's how we've set this up for display purposes. We've just got the external pipe here feeding off, up and around, and just poking in the grow space here. Now you're probably not going to be pointing it at the back side of the LED or at the clip fan. You'd probably have it more directed towards the ground level of your plants. But just to give you guys an idea of what that looks like, because with it all set up here, we can run the full schedule of automations and set trigger points. So if this room was to get too dry, it can trigger the humidifier down here and get that humidity level up to much more comfortable levels to suit your plant's needs. So AC Infinity, of course, an absolutely premium product to suit their ecosystem, and we think it's a good necessity for those who are typically in those cooler areas of the year where it's going to be quite dry. Definitely worth considering. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, please get in touch with us here at Herbal House. Thanks for watching.